Hello, everyone. I hope that you can hear me. So my name is Waravet Cholasins. I'm the Executive Director of AIT Extension, and I also am the Director of the CIFAL Bangkok. As you perhaps know, that CIFAL Bangkok is part of the UNITA, the UN Institute for Training and Research, and the CIFAL Bangkok has the office at AIT, in the office which is we call the AIT Extensions. And as you know that every month AIT Extension organize the webinar sessions or live sessions to share information, to share experience, to share knowledge with the audience around the region and also around the world. So this event, which is in January, this is the first event that we do for 2024, and this is also the first event for AIT and CIFAL Bangkok that we organize for the online event, which is one of the events that we want to also share the information and experience of the activities of CIFAL Bangkok to the CIFAL networks. You know that around the world we have CIFAL centers, 30 centers around the world, and CIFAL Bangkok is the member of the center, which we can also, work with the network members around the world and working together in order to provide knowledge and transfer knowledge and organize training programs with other CIFAL. The main responsibility of the CIFAL Bangkok and also the CIFAL networks and AIT is to organize short courses, online trainings and webinars and web dialogues and other training and learning events that benefit to the global population. And needless to say that how important it is for the topics today. As you may know that the penetrations of the mobile phones in ASEAN countries, we may know that it's more than 100% of the penetration which is happening in the ASEAN region and also in the Asia Pacific region. And with the rough figure, now on average, it's about 14 billion US dollar of the money that we spend on the digital technologies, both on the advertisements and marketings and social medias and so on and so forth. And also the governments and also the private sector has to spend that much of money and invest that much of money in order to be advanced in the digital technologies. It is also very important to see the future. And this is going to be something that interests to the government sectors, the private sectors, and international organizations that we are going to share information with you today, especially on what is the status of the digitalization in the Southeast Asian countries, which is one of the important regions and also one of the largest market shares on the GDPs of the region and also the economy of the world today. So today we are very honored that Dr. Thanatat Puthasuwan is coming to our studio and to share his experience working on the digitalization strategies in ASEAN economy. And as you know that, Dr. Thanatat is the financial economist. He used to work in the World Bank, especially in the East Asian countries for the World Bank and also working in the private sectors. Now he is serving as the international consultant in various areas, especially in the financial sectors, in the risk sector, and also in the grassroots enterprise development sector. So without further ado, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Thanatat to share with our audience on the findings of the studies and survey of the status of the digitalization of the ASEAN economy. Dr. Thanatat, please.
Thank you very much. I'd like to extend my thanks to AIT and CIFAL Bangkok for having me here today. And welcome to, I see there are about 30 participants who joined the session. There could be a little more. Before we get started, Thank you for the very nice introduction. I like to say that it's an honor to be the inaugural speaker for CFAO Bangkok here today, and hopefully I can share with you a little bit of knowledge, a little bit of experience for each of you, what countries you're coming from, or whatever professions that you are doing, basically to get the thinking process going on digital economy, digital development. Some of you are experts. I'm not a technical expert. I'm speaking to you from an economic point of view. Basically, that's my background. That's what I do. And before I get started, let me share the screen. The topic for today is basically digitalization in Southeast Asia subregion. We're talking ASEAN subregion, basically. Asia Pacific has 59 countries. And within that, we have North Asia, the Far East, and South Asia as well. The context that we're talking about is basically ASEAN subregion. And then I'll tell you a little bit later on why we're giving that the context. In terms of background, where I'm coming from, although an economist, I had the opportunity to work in several countries in digital economy, development, strategy, and transformation. I worked in Laos PDR, the Philippines, Kingdom of Bhutan, and also here in Thailand on grassroots economy and digital development. Past life, as Warwick was saying, I'm an economist with the World Bank in East Asia and Pacific region. To move on, I think the proposition here that we're talking about is digital economy is no longer an option for us. It's an imperative. Everybody is engaging in digital economy. Why? Digital economy is a tool for economic and social development, sustainable development, and also for growth. I think it has become a tool. And whether you like it or not, if you don't adopt digital economy and development, you're going to be left behind. And that's where the impetus of digital economy is. The work that I'm doing, our context, that I'm going to be presenting to you today is digital economy development and transformation. Basically, who's doing what in ASEAN? 10 countries member, and with a focus on e-government or the government sector. Why? Because digital economy, the government has a role as the enabler of digital economy. Okay. Digital economy cannot happen with just government or private sector. Everybody has to work together to join hands and develop digital economy. But the focus of today is basically e-government, on opportunity and challenges, on who's doing what, with a focus on human resource development and capacity building. That's the focus of CFAO Bangkok anyhow. So that's the context that I'm going to be delivering. I'm going to be talking for about 30, 40 minutes, and then we're going to open it up for comments and discussion. And I hope you can enjoy what it is we're looking at. Now, before I get to the snapshot of digital technology in everyday life, let me say that the material that I'm presenting to you today is basically from the various studies that I did in Southeast Asia, most recently for ASEAN. Okay, it's not an in-depth research. It's basically a rapid assessment academic paper that I prepared in November. And that paper was presented for the UN SCAP as well in Manila in November. So basically, we're looking at a rapid review of ASEAN member countries. But before you get to that, Let's take a look at worldwide, globally, where digital technology is. 99% of the world population is within reach of mobile tower. That may not be surprising. Everybody's using it now. 50% of world population uses the internet. That's half. ASEAN is a little bit less than half. Okay? That's why we're thinking ASEAN has potential for growth. 3.3 billion of world population use at least one social media platform. Facebook, TikTok, WhatsApp, Twitter, X, you name it. I have 3, so I'm higher than average. Okay. Thailand and a lot of the ASEAN countries were very adamant on using Facebook. We are the number 1 Facebook accounts in sub-region in the world, okay, for communication and also for businesses. Even government use it, yeah? Now, 66% of financial transactions are now conducted electronically, especially during and after COVID, right? Think back in 2020 when COVID came. We weren't really using electronic payments, but now we do. And we enjoy it because it's easy. You don't have to take cash. You don't have to go to ATMs. We just transfer funds. And more is coming. I'll show you later on. The number of websites has increased exponentially. In 1991, there was 1 website. Where was that? That's, 30 some years ago, right? Now there's 1.72 billion and counting. That was in 2019. Now we're probably 2 billion websites. And we have a digital technology innovation. Now we store everything on cloud. So it increases our capacity to store data and knowledge. Yeah. Southeast Asia digital economy is topping 200 billion in 2022. And it's growing 20% annually until next year, probably more. The reason I'm showing you this is look at the bottom right. Of all the sectors and activities, online media, roads and transport, food and transport, travel, e-commerce. Indonesia ranked 5th in the world in e-commerce platforms. Indonesia, with all its population. But what's startling is this. Let's take a look at this. Digital economy in Southeast Asia, ASEAN in particular. In 2019, there were 360 million users. In 2022, 460 million, an increase of over 100 million in 3 years, or 28%. And out of that, look at the right on the top, digital reality in 2022. 370 million digital consumers. 80% of all consumers are digital consumers. 90% of merchant accepted digital payments, and 82% of those 90% expect digital business to grow at least 50%. So in Southeast Asia, topping 200 billion in GMV, gross merchant value, yeah, in 2022, and it's expected to grow to over 1 trillion US in 2020. That's in 6-7 years. Yeah. What's e-commerce? The definitions are down below. It's endless. There's no boundaries anymore. There's no borders anymore. Yeah. So the impact on Southeast Asia digital economy is such that 200 to 20 to 25 million e-commerce merchants in Southeast Asia alone as of 2022. 6 to 7 million SMEs are being started up. So you have the various startups in digital businesses. 160,000 direct jobs were created in Southeast Asia. 30 million indirect jobs, logistics, supply chains, you name it, services, accounting, finance. Look at the tourism industry. Look at service industry. It's growing. And 5 to 10% penetration in Southeast Asia GDP in 2022. It could be more. Now, when we look at digital economy, the way I look at it is that there are development pillars. And this is what my proposition is. Digital development, digital economy development starts at the national level, national vision. Each of your country, those of you who listen, think back to your country. There are national vision on digital economy development. Every country has it. And then that trickles down to your development plan, the 5-year plan on economic and social development plan. You call it differently. Some countries call it development plan. Some countries call it transformation plan. Some countries call it the social and economic vision. Everybody has those. Okay? But underneath those, what you do is you have basically six pillars or 6 principles to develop your digital economy. Number 1, infrastructure and enterprise development. Basically, the government enables digital economy through infrastructure and enterprise development, creating conducive environment for digital economy. Pillar 2, digital economy development itself. That has 2 sides. One is government data. For what? For evidence-based policy making. Some countries call it single source. Some countries call it integrated government data. Some countries call it e-government. Yeah. Whatever it is, what you want is one single source, reliable, credible government public data, so government can rely on it. Businesses can rely on it. International bodies can rely on it in order to make comparable judgment. On the other side, you have government citizen services, government provided services to us, to the citizens, including nationals and expats and internationals. Number 3, pillar 3, private sector development and enabling the business environment. That's the rules and regulations, if you will, to enable the private sector to use digital as a tool to develop digital economy. Yeah. In some countries, we still have impediments, so those need to be worked through. Yeah. Number 4, digital financial services. I'm talking about payment systems. You have domestic, government to government, government to business, government to consumers, business to consumers, and consumers to consumers payment system. In addition to international payment system, where businesses rely on those to transact. Okay. Pillar 5, and to me, it's probably the most important. It's people, skills, and capacity. The users, the everyday users in the country, including the provincial, rural area users. You want to include them as well. All that is cut across by pillar 6, governance. How do we manage digital economy? How do we do institutional arrangements? Who's doing what? And legal and regulatory reforms. In some countries, it leads to foreign direct investment, private sector jobs creation, freelance, because we know the younger generations are now relying on digital to make their living. Yeah. And then also remote work, the so-called digital nomads to be promoted. So those are the pillars that I'm looking at as far as digital development. Now let's turn to government. E-government as the enabler of the digital economy has grown from 2019 to 2021. Yeah, from 440 to 450. That's 19% growth and more. Examples of citizen services. those of you who are attending this, you see, think back to your country. What digital services do you use or you have? All over the world, registration of motor vehicles, payment for utilities, yeah, submitting your income taxes, marriage certificates, vaccine online during COVID, jump at you. Driver licenses, passport services, birth certificates. A lot of those countries are doing that digitally. The issue is they're all standalone systems. Most governments are working through to do a one-stop service window. We'll talk more in a little bit of that, okay? Now, as far as e-government is concerned, take a look at this. The United Nations e-government survey, 2022. Denmark, Finland, Republic of Korea, New Zealand, Sweden, you see on that list. They're the high-ranking ones. In ASEAN 10 countries, 7 out of 10 countries are ranked in the top 100. The gold star is Singapore, okay? Followed by Malaysia, 53, Thailand, 55, Brunei, 68, Indonesia, 77, Vietnam, Philippines, Cambodia, Laos. And for some reference, I provided numbers for China, India, and Bhutan. So you can see where each of your countries are. Huh? A lot of more work to be done. That's the key message. A lot more work still needs to be done. Even Singapore is working on it. And we'll see in a little bit why. This is I compiled this as the ASEAN member state vision, combined vision. It's rather lengthy. But basically, everybody is aiming to create a digital economy that is unique, provide opportunities for the private sectors and businesses, and also government to grow. It's often referred to as digital technologies or tool. Include, but not limited to, the third paragraph, e-commerce, e-marketplace, e-education, e-health, streaming platforms, social media, and remote work, depending on your context. Country context is important, but this is a capture-all. Within ASEAN, there is also a Digital Master Plan 2025. It's being prepared now. Will probably become effective in 2025. It aims for ASEAN countries to be the leading digital community and economic bloc, competing with the likes of other economic blocs, right? BIMSTEC, APEC, right? BRICS. So economic blocs are becoming more and more important. In secure and transformative digital services, technology, and ecosystem, most importantly, the skills has to be there and the readiness has to be there across key sectors. Not every country's sectors are the same. It depends on your comparative advantage. For example, Thailand's going back to basic agriculture. Because what? Because there are food shortage all over the world. In some countries, climate is an issue, Thailand's included. So digital climate is important, in addition to digital health, digital education, digital energy. So those are some of the realm. Now, let's take a look at this. It's kind of lengthy, but this is taking stock of the 10 countries in Southeast Asia on who's doing what. On the second column, you see National Digital Development Plan. Everybody has it. And they call it differently. From Brunei down to Malaysia, Thailand, Singapore, Vietnam, everybody has it. Okay? And to a certain extent, every country has started doing something, more or less. Bru Health in Brunei, National E-Government website in Cambodia, Lao PDR, road tax collection, passport services, GSHAT, government financial information. Malaysia, Permakin drives the digital adoption. Myanmar, not very much going on there yet. Philippines, e-learning. e-classroom. Singapore, they're doing a lot more than another step now. Countrywide broadband network, a startup with government to function as private tech company. They're another step forward. Thailand is doing Thailand 4.0. Okay. Doing the using digital as a tool to develop 5 sectors. E-contract, e-procurement. Timor-Leste, not much information is happening. Timor-Leste is still an observer in ASEAN. And Vietnam, e-government, finance, customs, and things and the likes. What's important is this 4th column. Next phase, who's doing what? I bolded it. National Information Hub for Brunei. Basically, one-stop service. Okay. Single source e-government, digital payment, and digital identity system. Cambodia, smart cities, digital lab, community tech. Indonesia, digital ID system. Lao PDR, digital ID system, as well as national single window for citizen services. Lao just organized a 2nd annual Lao Digital Week last week, where they showcase startups, and they launched a 5G network in Lao PDR. Malaysia, online public services, free Wi-Fi, etc. Myanmar, government data centers is being developed. Philippines, citizen-centered public services, multi-directional communication channels, infrastructure. Singapore is doing the soft side even more. Strategic trust, expand and enhance digital access for inclusivity. Even a small country as Singapore, they're thinking inclusiveness because there are still people outside the digital environment. Infuse digital literacy, thrust number 2. Digital literacy is key to people and capacity. Empower community and business to drive widespread adoption of technology even more. And promote digital inclusion by design. In Thailand, you have the one-stop citizen services being developed, the payment system, digital trade and private investments, and also research and development hub. And Thailand, if most people don't know it, we provide extended visa for digital nomads. Thailand is becoming a hub for digital nomads, where Thai government will take advantage of these expertise in training, in knowledge sharing, the likes. Okay, so payment system is important because PayPal doesn't accept individual accounts in Thailand, only business account. So the international payment system is crucial for Thailand. Yeah, Timor-Leste, government data government, digital government, and citizen services is being worked on. And in Vietnam, telehealth, fintech is key to their development. AI, big data, metaverse, and digital agriculture. Similarly, as you may see. So a lot of the countries are doing similar, but depending on their comparative advantages, they have to pick and choose their niches. This is basically very broad. Then you get into sectors, you get into product types, and you get into expertise depending on your capacity. And in each country, I call it the dedicated digital government units, DGUs. Different countries have different DGUs that are set up. Most of them are ministerial level. Some report to the Prime Minister's office at the national level. Some are independent, but they are not regulators. They're the implementers, the enabler of digital government. Yeah? I'm going a little bit fast here. CFILE AIT, you may wish to share the PowerPoint at the end. Yeah. Now let's look at what ASEAN is doing. These are key developments. The key initiatives underway: international e-payment system. 5 countries have signed MOUs in the past couple of months. Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand. On what? Once that system is in place, I, as an individual or businesses, can transfer directly to your business accounts. partners or friends or families or whoever. I can purchase things from Indonesia or the Philippines or Singapore directly without going through the banks. The bank transfer system or payment system in the future may be obsolete because you can do it directly, just like you do it internally, domestically. Like I can transfer to a business, to my cousin, to my son, daughters directly. Now I can transfer it to my son who's studying in Singapore directly without going through banks. So the central bank signed the MOUs, 5 countries, and I'm pretty sure once those 5 countries are functioning, the rest of ASEAN will follow. Okay, save time and transaction costs. Go Digital 2020. Basically, ASEAN country members are developing digital training programs, targeting women, youth, vulnerable groups, rural areas. Now, the issue becomes, what if they don't have smartphones? What if they don't have laptops? Many countries are learning from South Asia, from India, from Bangladesh, from Sri Lanka, Nepal. Government set up ICT community centers in the villages, in the sub-district, equipped it with equipment, laptops, standalone computers, Wi-Fi's for education and financial literacy, right? And then each ASEAN countries also develop resource centers for digital capacity consultant. Basically, for example, Cambodia is doing e-government resource centers. Thailand is doing digital literacy for the youth in schools. Many countries are adopting what they think are their comparative advantage to become the resource centers. And within ASEAN, you can access them through websites, through ASEAN websites, or directly through social media and ask for help, ask for advice. In the next phase, ASEAN is doing business development services for SMEs, developing common and unique ID numbers. So you can share knowledge, you can transact cross-border trade, or even among country trade. Yeah. E-learning platform needs to be developed in a more ASEAN-related contents and languages, right? Not just English, but Cambodian, Vietnamese, Laotian, Thai, Northeast, Myanmar, you name it. So more local context, more localization of digital development is underway. And then, of course, ASEAN Digital Economy Agreement to be signed this year, probably at the ASEAN Summit towards the end of this year. They will sign that digital economy agreement. Basically, what you can do, you don't violate certain rights, human rights, or country rights. Okay? So that's what we see. Now, some examples of digital government in ASEAN. Trade facilitation, all the ASEAN countries adopting that. Otherwise, they're going to be left behind. Trade facilitation is basically one-stop window for trade. Okay? You don't need to visit 10 different government agencies, but do it at one single agency. Trade single window system, poverty alleviation. Thailand has TP Map, Thai People Analytic Portal, where they collect data, where they can pinpoint specific target groups to intervene and help. For example, poverty eradication. Identify poverty groups or identify vulnerable groups so the Ministry of Social Welfare can help and target those people. Yeah. In agriculture, smart farming, smart farmers using drones, using technology, when to harvest, when to put in fertilizers during the agricultural season, specifically for types of crops, right? Corn, rice, wheat, you name it. Yeah, for different countries. Transport and energy, smart city communication, toll roads and fares in Lao PDR or Thailand. Healthcare, COVID-19, we saw a lot of that development. It's still ongoing. Vaccination, telemedicine, telehealth, e-diagnostic. A lot of the hospitals in ASEAN You call them up, you get a recording, or you visit their website or their app, and they're saying, you don't want to visit the hospital, but you want to be sent medications. Click here. They have all the health records that you have visited the hospital. The next phase is that if you go to a particular hospital, for example, in Manila or in Jakarta or in Vientiane, the next phase is if you visit other cities and you become ill, or you visit other countries, you become ill, you use your digital ID to go to the hospitals, and they have all your past health records, treatments, medications, illnesses. But again, security is an issue. Personal data protection will be an issue to overcome. It's not just going to happen, but there's also other parameters, other considerations that a country has to be careful of. Education. The Philippines using iClassroom to their advantage. Why? Because the Philippines are a lot of islands, right? Over thousands and thousands of islands. Education is difficult. So they use iClass learning to promote learning between islands. So that's becoming a fruitful endeavors for the government because more children can get educated in Philippines. But that's local context. The Philippines use iClassroom to their advantage. Other countries are doing the same. I worked in Bhutan. The Kingdom of Bhutan is using Google Classroom because Bhutan is forests, hills, mountains areas, difficult to travel. Yeah? Thailand's using long distance learning centers for classrooms. Yeah, where government provides free Wi-Fi's and schools are doing distance learning centers. Yeah, climate resiliency, greenhouse gas, water management, blue and green issues. I'm not going to go into details. And in many of our countries, BM 2.5, where we're experiencing that today, right? It's a health hazard. So digital can help manage a little bit of that. And international payment system I talked about. So those are some of the key developments in ASEAN, and many of you from South Asia or Europe, many of your countries are doing the same. This graph is just single window trade. You can see that Singapore, Thailand, Vietnam, and Brunei and Cambodia are the leaders in ASEAN. But look at elsewhere. Those 5 other countries are doing a lot more. And those are the 5 countries that are ranked fairly high in the e-government digital surveys. Yeah. And this is example why. Now, more example. In Singapore, smart waste management program. See the waste bins? Once it's full, it sends a signal to the city, and they come and empty the cash bins. Not just once a day, sometimes several times a day. But they don't need to monitor it. It's the digital monitoring. Yeah. And this can happen anywhere in the cities. Yeah. You don't need to put trash cans or trash bins there, but you can do so with digitally. Law enforcement, predictive policy, policing, monitoring, in addition to closed circuit TV, right? The olden days is closed circuit TV. Now you have the bird's eye view on number 3. On mobile workforce optimization, traffic congestion, digital investigation, track records. The Philippines education I mentioned. TV Up is an internet webcast that the University of Philippines is doing on education. And that goes to different islands at different times of day. Yeah. Open education resources, almost like open data. Education is free. Make it digital even better. You can access it, create a podcast, tape it, record it. Students can learn any time of day, not just from 9 to 5, not just during school hours. You can learn any time of day. Think of the possibilities of learning. Yeah. Tax administration. Some of our countries, we can submit tax returns or tax payment online. urban governance in Korea, integrated traffic management, including accident detections and traffic congestions and diversion. After all that, development challenges remain in ASEAN. This may seem like a Christmas list, but look at the red and the blue. I kind of separated them into two colors just for easy reading. They're not by any means priorities or things that are applicable to your country. Some of it may not, but this is what I found in ASEAN. You have to change the mindset of governments and of people, of policymakers and people, to be able to use digital technology. Some are afraid of it. Of course, readiness, that's including infrastructure and capacity of the people. Reduce costs. Some of our countries in ASEAN, we still have high internet access costs. I don't have the slide here, but some countries, it goes as low as 30 cents US dollars per what? Per hour. Not minute, but in some of our ASEAN countries, $1.70. That's what? Over 2,000 times more expensive. And the people in the rural areas will not be able to afford it. So governments have the commitment and the responsibilities to lower internet access costs. That's why my assessment and the key message is focusing on e-government. I'm not touching the infrastructure here, but I think government and regulators know what to do in order to reduce costs. And if you put the ASEAN countries together, like I said, as low as 30 cents for an hour, or a fixed rate to $1.70 US dollars. So reducing costs is key. Narrowing the gap of digital divide, gender, capacity, youth, elderly, the vulnerable, in the cities and in rural areas. If they don't have access, how do you give them access? If they don't have equipment, how do you give them equipment? Not everybody has smartphones. In ASEAN, smartphones are really expensive. Don't think about people lining up for iPhone 15. Think of people who do not have smartphones to access. And you're talking about access government services, reducing their costs, reducing their travel time. Because if they have to travel to government provincial centers, that's 3/4 of a day where they could have been earning money, where they don't have to spend on transport. Think of it in that terms, all right? Increase public sector effectiveness. Government services, including data centers for government, cloud data centers. Yeah, most government do have it. You need to take a look at the capacity of those data centers, because you have to have the ability to store knowledge, to store records, store government services, especially when you're developing government single window e-citizen services. No country has it yet, not even Singapore, not completely, that's what I mean. But eventually down the road, 5 years, 10 years, we're going to have to digitize all those citizen services and creating a one-stop window. One platform, either mobile and internet. You register, you get into it, and then you choose what you want. You want passport, you want car registration, you want marriage certificate, you want death certificates, you want e-education, you want to pay utility bills, name it. One access window. But it comes at a cost. Investment will be high. Legal and regulatory environment will have to be complete. Data protection will have to be complete. Data security, data protection, interoperability between government agencies, because right now those data belong to each government agencies. Single source, public data, open data for government. Now getting into the blue. Digital skills for human resources and transformative leadership, not just in government, but in private sector, in society as well. You need leadership in where? Universities, schools, community, villages, you name it. Volunteers, not just in government, not just in departments and ministries. That's what I'm saying. But when you get outside of your urban centers, you need leaderships. To what? To lead the way, change mindset, readiness, digital skills, digital literacy, how to use it. Yeah, because digital is only as good as people who can use it. It's a tool. Whole of country approach, the VOC. That's what the government needs to plan for. In some of our countries, if you go back to that list, you do have digital vision, digital master plans, digital development plans that are part of your national vision. But some of those plans are broad. You need to develop action plans. You need to know what the market wants. And what I call is, you see the market-driven digital skill requirements, digital industry skills requirement survey. Government can help with that, work with academia, work with private sector. You want to know what market wants, not just domestically, but internationally. So you can provide good skills, you can provide education to match those requirements. Formal education may take time, so you need in-service professional trainings for digital development. And then data privacy, data protection, interoperability, system cybersecurity, those are all needs to be in place to provide policy and support and legal and regulatory framework. Coming back again, different country develop at different pace. Why? Government structure is different. Government tends to work in silos, so you need an integrated, dedicated government units to coordinate. Infrastructure, some are ready, some are not. Digital readiness, governance, private sector, finance, investment, payment system, legal, regulatory, and of course, to me, most importantly, HR digital capacity of the users. So government, I suggest you adopt a value proposition for digital development. Inclusiveness, inclusivity. You include everybody. You don't want to leave anybody behind. You want to be effective. What is it? Effectiveness is bang for the buck. You spend investment, you want high returns. And then accountability. You need to be responsible. Yeah. Of course, transparency, publicity, publicness, and accountabilities are key. Of course, digital economy has a repercussion and it has an effect on SDGs from 1 to 17. Has an implication on sustainable development goals. Yeah. Citizen services, key stakeholders, technology interface, and also government functions. You may know all these already. I think the most important development for ASEAN countries is the digital ID system. Thailand has the 13-digit digital ID embedded in our citizen ID cards. Most countries have that. Lao PDR is working on digital ID, not complete yet. But eventually those citizen ID card can get you into the single window citizen services. And this chart is where things are. Yeah. A lot of the countries are 90, 98%. Malaysia is 100%. You can manage your citizen services using digital ID cards. Now, capacity development, knowledge and skills, digital readiness. I urge you to ask questions. What, why, when, how, and by whom to provide capacity development, knowledge and skill, and digital readiness. I summarize it into 3 areas. Number 1, recommendation, preparation of government digital development master plan. If you don't already have it, in most of our ASEAN countries, using whole of government approach, using digital industry skill requirement survey as a tool. You know what the market wants. You prepare a curricula based on those master plan, based on findings. and possible topics for training, capacity development, not just training, but capacity is also meaning internships, exchange programs, study tours, learn from people who are able to learn online. Yeah. Digital project management, because project management, over 50% fail in the government. Building e-government, there's a stepping stone toward e-government. Transformational leadership and dedicated government program where you need to build capacity of Ministry of ICT, Ministry of Posts, government tech agencies, you name it. You need to build their capacity. Number two, digital government capacity building. As I said before, central government, municipal government, and local government needs to be increased in their capacity. In literacy, literal policies, project management is key, especially for dedicated government units where you have to coordinate. Digital project management, integrated public information system, open data, data science. These are all key learning that if you go and ask, nobody knows. So you need capacity building programs for those. And the top three that I found to be the baseline skills are Microsoft Excel, PowerPoint, and Words. Basically, government needs those skills. Yeah. And in addition, Angular JC, JavaScript, web application, Tableau, data visualization, machine learning, and data science. Those are the next step of capacity building. And number three, digital governance. Basically, the data security, data privacy, e-commerce, and specific platforms. In some countries, are using e-technology, digital technology for vote, for elections, and voting, for transparency, and also for security. So as enabler, government are using technology widely, increasing citizen services, but not all are successful. So you need to review, you need to have a plan, you need to have a contingency plan. You need to review the readiness, the effectiveness, inclusiveness. Those are the principle. Because digital, if not planned carefully, it's becoming part of the problem. You don't want that. You want it to be part of the solutions, part of your development and growth. So let me stop there. Thank you very much. 45 minutes. Let's open for question and discussion. I think some of you may have put it in chat. I'll leave the screen here in case you want me to return to any particular slide for questions and comments. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Dr. Thanatat, for the presentations and information from the research on the status of the digital technologies in ASEAN countries. And I think this is very, very important as you know, you can observe that there are a growing trends since the past decades. And when it's come to now is that we can see that every countries in ASEAN, and I believe also many countries in other regions, they are singing the same song in terms of the digitalizations. And if you look at the house that presented by Dr. Thanatat, you can see that those songs are composed by 6 to 7 pillars that is somehow is very useful for the organization structures of the strategies. And perhaps this is the platform that never ends until and unless we are looking at the backbone system, the backbone platform which the country has to provide, and until the user interface, including the tools and gadgets and also the technologies and devices that people. So a lot more things that we can do and a lot more things that we can create, the maturities and also the complete not the completion, but also achieving the digitalization. I've seen one questions in the chat box, two questions actually. The question number one from our colleagues, is the access of internet device growing impactful challenges to parents who are experiencing young generation physical health and mobility is not just enough. So how we limit this? So this is talking about the impact or the consequence for the young generation, because this young generation, these kids, they may not be able to consider which one is appropriate, which one is not.
Or they're looking for vices. Yeah. I want to say this. As you know, most of you are parents, right? When you give your children the computer, a laptop, or the phone, within 5 minutes, they know how to operate it, much more so than you do. And I agree with you that appropriate contents are key to learning. And when children have access without certain amount of education, literacy, and I hate to use the word control, but exercise good judgment, basically, it can be harmful. It can hurt you. And we see that in everyday life. If you're here in Thailand, you hear the news every day. If you're in Singapore, you're in Malaysia, you hear the news also. Even in Laos PDR. I was there 2 weeks ago. They talk about internet frauds. They're talking about deceiving. They're talking about scams. They're talking about all those things that children need to be careful. How do you limit it? Censorship is not a way to go.
Okay.
Monitoring is not a way to go because you cannot monitor everything. All right. You cannot shut down all the websites in the world and all the apps in the world. But what you can do is through digital literacy. That literacy programs in schools. I'm not talking just university. I'm talking secondary schools. I'm talking elementary school. I'm talking kindergarten and preschool. In Thailand, if you go outside of Bangkok, you look at the preschool 3-year-old, they already know how to play with a smartphone. So parents play a lot of role. Teachers play a lot of role. Maybe they don't read. So use TikTok. Create content, learning environment, make it fun, cartoons. Peers, big brothers, little brother, big sister, little sister programs. In Thailand, we have so-called digital volunteers in the villages. It's young professionals, mostly high school and university students, go out and educate people. Yeah, play games, make it fun. It has to start somewhere. That's what I'm saying. Secondly, smartphones do have features to turn off things. So it's parents' responsibilities. If you buy smartphones, you take it to the shop or at the shop you purchase from, you turn off certain features. You need to be aware of what features there are. That's one way to limit apps that are harmful to your children. Because like I said, monitoring alone will not do it. Yeah. And parents can look at records for the week, what your children access. You have that report in your smartphone. Now, most parents maybe don't know it. So literacy plays a big role. Parents enroll in digital literacy program as well. Yeah. So that would be my quick recommendation.
Yes. And I also think that when we are in this era of the digital human interface environments, at some point, we might need to also separate the devices and the content. So this is coming together, and I think the whole value chains of the perhaps digitalization is also, it is a combination of the technological devices and also the content. So in many cases, we can see that the digital disciplines may need to be created by also, I don't want to say regulated the contents, but also taking the accountabilities of the contents so that the digitalization and digital world can be, a kind of a happy world, and also it's good news to everybody. So there are angles and corners that provide a space that we can explore. We can also go to the extent of the digital crimes, digital insecurity, so on and so forth. So there will be pros and cons of these technologies anyway. And I think this is something that we can also consider. What are the perspectives where we are going to explore in order to make the policies to make use of the digital technologies and digital transformation. Thank you very much for the question. And coming to the second question, which is related to the inclusiveness of the poor people. When we are looking at the poverty now, so a lacking of the literacies on the digital economy is also maybe enhance the poverty. So those poor people who don't have the literacy on digital, they will be entrapped of this poverty because of they don't access to the technology. What do you think about this?
From what I have seen in a few countries that I have worked in ASEAN, I would not generalize that the rural areas are lagging behind. I would not generalize that. Because in rural areas, there are certain groups of people, especially the younger generation, who do have smartphones or have computers, either laptop or desktop, and they're very well versed in digital technology. Yeah. They know a lot more than we do. They use social media. They use Facebook Live to sell things, to communicate with their friends in different provinces or different regions of the countries. I think what we are facing is a generational gap where there is a generation of non-digital users that are afraid to use it, just like any other technology, right? They're afraid to use it. They don't know how to use it. They don't have the equipment to use it. So I think when you go into rural areas or outside of the urban areas, you need to take a close look. If you are a government, you need to take a close look of where the gaps are. And people in the north and people in the south and people in the east are all totally different. The needs are different. The capacities are different. Most of the ASEAN countries are providing free Wi-Fi for communities. Some have more, some have less. But in those places where they don't have it, the mobile internet carriers sell packages. And most younger generation access them because that's their mean of communications. Nobody uses landline phones anymore. They're using internet phones, right? Through line application, through WhatsApp, through Facebook messengers. So in every community, rural communities, there are gaps. One way of bridging it, good examples are in India, Pakistan, South Asia, Bangladesh, Nepal. Community digital centers. In Thailand, we have it in the villages called, they use public buildings or even in schools or in temples. Government provide Wi-Fi's and equipment, and digital volunteers go into those places and provide lessons. Digital literacy, in some cases, start with how you turn on a computer. That's so basic that we take for granted. So in some communities, you may need to start at that level. Thailand's digital volunteers, they don't get paid. They get travel money a little bit, and they get free SIM cards so they can use for teaching, for illustrating, for communicating. So it's innovations that is the key to inclusiveness and bridging the gap. That's my answer.
Right. So yeah, I mean that's the interesting point in terms of how we really define the poverties and also try to really connect the factors into the literacies. At one point, if you remember, that maybe 2-3 decades ago, we are talking of poor people, but when we went to the village, we can see television in the house, and we kind of identify that actually this family is not poor, but the dimension of the poverty, maybe we also have to look into different perspective, different factors that we are going to look at the goals at the macro level. And I believe that making an in-depth analysis of the real case data is very important to really making an analysis of the demands and also interest of the digital literacy in the community level or the household. That is the message that I'm not try to cover. Me as a researcher, I think this is very important. This presentation is giving a macro level perspective, but as he said, we cannot take it for granted when it's come to the development of digitalization in the village and communities. We really know what is the readiness. Thank you for the questions. The next question is coming from Professor Badia. Professor Badia. So Professor Badia has asking about what is the top industry that, in your opinion, that it is important for the top priority for digitalization.
I take that question as a question industry, private industry, right? I tend to look at it, like I said, holistically. Digital economy, you have on one side digital government or government services, which in its own has sectors, right? You have energy, you have education, you have health, you have finance, transport, whatever. And then you have the private sector, business sectors, if you will. And in most countries, you can look at your stock market, business categorization, food and beverages, energy, hotels, tourism, things like that, okay? So if I understand your question correctly, I think we all know that manufacturing is using a lot of digital, robotics, AI, where a lot of countries are saying, we're afraid these are going to take place of labor, and what are we going to do with unemployment? Yeah. But at the end of the day, technologies need to be operated by human, right? So there needs to be a balance between pure technology, digital, and human services. That's one thing. In addition to that, the tourism industry is becoming more and more digital. In some of our countries, the law used to be that if you a inbound tour company, you have to have a shop front. That was 10 years ago. Not anymore. You can apply for a digital business license, work from home, and have a tour company. And you need a license from the Ministry of Tourism. Otherwise, people will not be believing or trusting, right? Thirdly is health. More and more telemedicine. Yeah. More and more I can access government or a private sector online platform, making appointments, purchase medications, fill my prescriptions, transport. Government provide transport services, infrastructure, but private sector is also using apps to pinpoint where traffics are, where the roads are empty, reduce travel time, reduce costs. Don't forget, private sector benefits or profit also comes from cost reduction, right? So you look at both sides of the coin. You know, another two sectors in particular that when I talk to the people I work with is the technology sector itself, the startups. That's where technology is playing a big role. And in many, many developing countries in ASEAN and in South Asia, focusing is on tech startups, innovations, using digital technology, innovate. Whether it be in finance, remember, digital is a tool. Whether you work in finance, in transport, in manufacturing, in handicrafts, in agriculture, you can apply digital as a tool. Yeah, but digital sector itself, the apps that people are creating, the software that people are creating, reduce transaction costs, reducing transaction time. And the last sector is energy and climate. I think it's very important for most of our countries, where a lot of our countries are switching to clean energy to comply with world standards. ASEAN will have to do the same in 10 years' time. Internal combustion engine vehicles may not be there, less and less, more electric vehicles, electric motorcycles. It's changing the landscape of knowledge, changing the landscape. Mechanical engineers will be used less and less, right? Vehicle repairmen will be used less and less. All right. So education is shifting.
Yeah.
Formal education, professional education is shifting. So that's my short answer.
Thank you.
For government, the most pressing is basically the digital ID system.
Right.
To provide digital services. Because why? Because that reduces transaction costs for people, for government and the citizens, and it's easier for government to manage in the long run. Yeah.
With my curiosity, one of the industry that I observe in the rapid change of the digital era is a so-called, for me, is the content industries. Whether your study have also witnessed the interest of the government to address the content industries, plus with the digital economies and these things, because it's look like that these are a kind of two power together. Right. It's a spiral where the content industry can even enhance the expansion of the digitalization right. in the landscape. So what did you find, or what do you think about this
okay.
part?
Let me address two issues at the same time. There was another question
sure.
By Elon on privacy, data privacy. So if you're talking about content, you also need to talk about data privacy.
Right.
And I think we all know that content is an issue because without localization of context, the content may not be applicable to you, your country, or your area where you work and live. For example, think of this. I'll use Thailand again. People in the north have different occupations, have different way of life than people in the south. Why? Because people in the north, they have mountains, they have rivers. They eat different food. People in the south, they're next to the ocean. Way of life is different. Income sources is different. So contents are different. People in the north want to know about when is it going to rain. People in the south would want to know when is high tide today, so I can take my boat out. So contents are different. Now, content also fits the type of businesses. Don't think of contents in terms of media and entertainment. We don't often talk about that. If you want to become a media and entertainment, like in Korea, you have the ability to develop arts and media and songs and movies and dramas and clips. Think about the possibilities of developing those. Yeah. So ASEAN tend to think of localization of contents now. Different culture values, different geographical areas, different languages. Yeah. When I was doing a consulting work during COVID for this organization that was funded by USAID. Remember in 2020 when COVID started happening, nobody knew where it came from or how you get infected. Remember that? Well, this organization came to me and says, help create a video. And I involved AIT in it too, because AIT has international students. So I created a script, a video production company with scripts and interviews. We did that in 4 different languages: Thai, Cambodian, Myanmar, Burmese, right? And Laotian. And students from AIT were the people we interviewed. Basically, that's the content that fits the need at that particular time in different languages. So you need to localize content. Okay. Now, another thing that you will have with content are frauds, fraudulent misinformation, disinformation, and also cyberbullying. Now, the question here is, how do we protect? Digital privacy data protection law is, to a certain extent, helps, but you need enforcement. And nobody can police 24 hours. Now, based on, if we accept that, then digital literacy is key. Digital literacy, build awareness. Yeah, you build awareness. In some countries, government works with telecom companies, cell phone providers, send out messages, warn people. You have anti-fake news centers. What's true and what's false, what's disinformation, what's fraudulent. You let the people know. If your country uses Line application, do it through Line. If your country uses SMS, work with carriers, cell phone carriers. If your country uses a lot of TikTok or WhatsApp, use those. Get the words out, public education, digital literacy campaign. In addition to government, universities, high school, secondary school, elementary school, communities, do it at all levels. And localize content. So that would be my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. We have, many questions. One more question. Very interesting.
Sure, I'm here.
Very interesting from Faye Simon. In ASEAN, the member country have been talking a lot on the credit transfer and mapping the credential system in the education system in the region of the countries in order to provide credits.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any challenges that make gaps of not be able to compare the credits because in different country doesn't have the same readiness level?
Right. All right. Cool. Thanks for that, Faye. I think it's a good question because you get you to think about how you build capacity within countries. Let me separate this into 2 things that I mentioned before. You have the formal education system, and you have the informal, which is the in-service. I call it in-service, or people learning from internet, learning from other people. Many countries in ASEAN within the last couple of years are going through formal education, curriculum, refinement, redevelopment process. Knowing countries have adopted digital economy. So formal education in university and at vocational levels are shifting more towards technology and sciences. All 10 countries in ASEAN and South Asia are doing the same. I'm not going to mention countries, but everybody is shifting to AI, big data, data sciences, JavaScript, e-commerce platform, software creation, app writing, usage, in vocational. Where are the gaps? Or what are the impediments? There's several. Number one, within a formal education system in some countries, the capacity is not there to teach. Teachers are not expert at digital development or digitization. So they have to rely on outside resource persons from private sector or whatnot. So building capacity of teachers in the education system is key. I see that in several countries. And you don't need a PhD to teach digital technology or digital usage. You need experience. Yeah. Okay. In some tracks, you need theories and whatnot for people who do research and things like that. But for everyday students who are hoping that when they take the course, they graduate, they can find jobs. What we're experiencing now is that most graduates do not get jobs because they don't have the technical skills to perform. So you need to focus on that. In addition to that, professional trainings in service is key. Yeah. People who graduated from university cannot jump into the workforce and perform right away. So where and how are you going to bridge that gap? Okay. In some countries, education system work with Chamber of Commerce based on the digital industry skill requirement survey. You know what the market wants. And you know what the market wants in particular industry. For example, auto industry. For example, health industry. For example, energy. For example, education. Different industry, or you call it sectors, need different types of skills. So you need to develop that based on sectoral skills requirements. Okay. Now, thirdly, I think shifting formal education takes time. Yeah. 4 years of education, when you graduate, technology is already far in the future. You're playing catch up again. So there needs to be a more logical training and digital learning, online learning, practices, projects, things like that to build in, not just classroom teaching. So you need to be innovative on how education deliver digital education. Yeah.
This comment from Dr. Thanatat reminded me one of the World Bank's webinar, which is organized just after COVID-19, and we were on most of the time on Zoom, and it was the webinar about the digital technologies and transformations of the higher education. And from that point of view, and with the phase questions, it seemed that the platforms for the digital platform for education systems is just ready. It can be internally plugged in. It can be also plugged in from universities to universities to make use of data of credits and credentials. It can also be plugged in across the country as well. So from that talk, I could hear that there is no problem of the main platform, which allow the internal plugin and also across border plugs into tapping into the data for student evaluation or student skill measurements. And that also kind of giving the answers that actually the teaching and learning is much more important in terms of the skill of the instructor, skill of coach, skill of mentor, skill of academic, members who will be able to use technologies to support teaching. So thank you for that question. So I mean, this is very, very important to further explore.
Let me add.
Yes.
Let me add on that.
Yeah.
When you have if you're talking about ASEAN, you have bigger countries and smaller countries, and the capacity of teachers or professionals are not the same. So smaller countries have less population, and they need to build that up. ASEAN countries, I think there are dialogues among members that they will share cross-border learning, and I think that's important. Where you use digital technology, online platforms to learn from each other, but the limitation there is language. Not all the countries and the participants speak common language or English. So there's still some limitation, especially in rural areas. Now, on the platform, international platform, in some areas, I don't think there's the government, ASEAN government will be agreeing on a common platform. But what they are working towards is interoperability system, where system of each country can link and speak to other countries through some type of an exchange. It's not even a platform, but they go through certain exchange, possibly hosted by ASEAN as a central body. So that's remained to be seen. We're going to see more of that after the digital economy agreement is signed later on this year.
Sure.
Yeah.
I will do the final questions, and perhaps this is a conclusion questions, and I maybe would say that Dr. Tan will spend maybe 1.5 minutes to answer this question. Do you see in the further step the importance of information sharing and exchange of the data between the digital economy peak bodies in the countries, so that the region have the whole platform ready? Is there anything that the ASEAN countries has echo on that needs, that the peak body of every country which is on digital economy should be communicate with each other, so they hear each other, so that they can also make things happen at the regional level?
Let me ask you back, just for clarification. The peak bodies, what do you mean by peak bodies?
Perhaps the decision makers, the regulators, or someone like DGU, as you mentioned, that they are looking the whole framework of the system, where how this can be mashed together.
Okay. Each country has a dedicated government units, right? Is there an initiative in ASEAN where these agencies speak together, share knowledge, and things like that? The short answer is yes. But before sharing, each country has to put in place data security laws.
Okay.
Data sharing laws, interoperability laws.
Yeah.
Okay. And most importantly, if it's government, to open government platform. Otherwise, they're not going to be able to share. Now, I'm sure when you have 10 countries speaking on each of those, there will be some countries who are willing to open everything and some countries who are reluctant to open everything. So there needs to be a process. And again, I'm going back to ASEAN Digital Economy Agreement. Maybe that will tell us a lot more but I do agree there needs to be sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Thanatat, for coming here to AIT today in our studios and sharing your findings from the study with us. And this allow us to really broaden our knowledge and perspective on how the ASEAN region would also move forward with the strategies for digitalization of the region. And I believe that this session has give you very important, key points, key takeaway that you can use in various ways. It can be also the further research, further study, and also be able to develop program according to the needs and also of the organization and the region. So for us, for CIFAR Bangkok and for AIT Extension, I would like to give a big thanks to the audience, being with us for almost 2 hours. And actually, your participation is very important for us. It's also encouraging us to do more works on knowledge transfers. And feel free to answer the questionnaires that we are giving to you. And also, if you would like us to organize, other topics in our webinar or online session, we will follow you. We will try to develop that program and also offer that program in the online mode so that everybody can access to the knowledge. So don't forget to do the online, feedback of the session that we are doing today.
I think even some of the things that I suggested, number 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah.
If you like to get into deeper discussions and things like that, we can certainly do that, because the assessment that I completed is there are more details. Today is just like an appetizer, for you to start thinking about it. We can certainly do more details.
Yeah, we can do more detail and dive deep into that one. And we are not just having the session today. Tomorrow is 24th, so we have another session at around the same time at 2 p.m. Bangkok time. We are going to have the session that related to the image technologies that related to the remote sensing, distance, remote sensing, where you can use the image technologies. And on 25th, we are going to have another online session that related to the earthquake-induced tsunami. So these are the knowledge platform that we are going to give you with very updated knowledge and allow you to explore further. So for today, thanks to our team at CFAL Bangkok, our colleagues from AIT Extension, and also the studio team at AIT Extension here to help us to be able to broadcast this very useful program. So goodbye until we see you again next time.
Thank you
so much.
Thank you for having me, and thank you again for all those different countries that tuned into today. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the questions also. Very good questions. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.